Attorney Sal, si Zaldico in his revelations last Friday also corroborated yung mga sinabi ni Guteza sa Blue Ribbon Committee hearing na nag-deliver siya ng cash, in luggages of cash kay former Speaker Martin Romualdez at sa Malacanang din. So, yung mukhang yung dalawa nagtutugma yung statements. Wala naman sila. Well, si Zaldico mukhang wala dito sa Pilipinas and si Guteza hindi mahanap. Is this also, do you think this might point to a plot, a demolition job against the administration?
I do not think so. Yung kay Guteza, yung kanyang mga confession has been validated by Zaldico. O di lumakas na yung teorya ng isa. O, kaya makakatulong. Pero hindi ako naniniwalang may plot. Talagang nagkagulo sila kasi nga you're hunting Zaldico. Survival naman yung kanya. Ang feeling niya, ba't naman ako lang? Pambihira kayo. Sama-sama tayo rito. O ginagawa niya.
With the allegations against President Bongbong Marcos by former Congressman Zaldico, yung meron ka sinabi sa statement mo last Friday that it's game over for the present political powers. And then in your column today, you said, is this the beginning of the end of the present political power holders?
Yeah.
Are you implying na magkakaroon ng withdrawal of support ng military or the police, or is this more about civilian unrest?
That depends. Kasi right now, you mentioned unrest, the rallies held last night and today and tomorrow is a manifestation, a visible manifestation of social unrest. People are outraged. People are angry. They're demanding transparency. They're demanding accountability. In fact, they're demanding regime change. Except for some na ayaw nila kay Inday Sara, pag nagkaroon ng regime change, siya magiging presidente. Pero papunta na tayo lahat doon. You know, our country never learns. The politicians never learn. Mangyayari na naman yung previous political upheavals. Ganyan na ganyan eh.
What are you referring to specifically? Marcos
People
Sr.?
Power 1, People Power 2. Yung nangyari kay Marcos Sr. and kay Estrada, ganun na nangyayari.
But when you're saying na, is this the beginning of the end of the present political power holders, are you referring to yung just people assembling together, or kailangan ba to ng support ng military? Kasi historically, nagkakaroon talaga ng difference pagka nagkaroon na ng withdrawal of the support ng military.
Yes, exactly. Yan ang mangyayari dyan. Alam mo, ang tingin ko sa military ever since, naghihintay lang yan eh. They will withdraw support kung nakita na talaga yung taong bayan ay ayaw na sa present dispensation. They will withdraw support. Ganyan ginawa nila sa panahon ni Johnny Ponce Enrile, panahon din ni Angelo Reyes. Di ba? Nung nakita nilang marami ng tao, saka sila nag-withdraw ng support. Kaya
pero at the moment, meron ka bang personal knowledge of any discussions with military or former military?
Ako, I just analyze and prophesy. I don't destabilize. Sinasabi ko, etong mangyayari dyan, kasi yun na nga nangyari noon, hindi nga tayo natututo eh. Kaya it's happening again. Deja vu nga, di ba? Palagi ko sinasabi.
But what is the tipping point na kinakailangan? Kasi sa column mo today, nag-mention ka rin yung ng smoking gun, and you're pointing to Zaldico's statements if corroborated by evidence. So ano yung palagay mo magiging smoking gun?
Sinabi ko yung if corroborated, but even if not corroborated, that's a declaration of interest. Yan ang sinasabi ko.
Declaration against interest under our rules of evidence.
Merong bahid ng katotohanan na sinasabi ni Zaldico. Kasi, kumbaga, hinulog niya sarili niya.
Pero yung pag sinasabi niya na wala akong natanggap, naniniwala ka ba dun?
Well, depende. Kasi, we must remember, na bilyonaryo na yata dati ito. May pera na siyang dati. Di ba? But, pwede rin namang wala siyang kinita doon sa 100 billion.
O doon sa kickback na inabot.
You must remember na ang daming projects prior to and after. Baka naman doon siya kumita, hindi sa particular na ito.
Okay. And, but are you worried to some extent that itong corruption investigation na to will also lead to former President Duterte because lumalabas din naman sa investigation na this is not something that just happened under this administration. Lumaki, yun yung sinabi, lumaki under this administration. Pero it seems like the system has been there.
Hindi, alam mo, kung totoo yung sinasabi nila, di noon pa. 6 na taon siya eh. The media, mainstream media, against kay Duterte yan eh. Di sana sumabog na yan. Wala naman akong narinig na gano'n. Do you remember? Having read or heard about this flood control projects at the time
I think
of
marami
Duterte?
kasing nagbe-benefit. Kaya walang, I mean, I even worked as undersecretary ng DPWH, but then I had no clue na ganyan kagrabe yung scale. And if you're not part of the system kasi hindi mo alam kung magkano kinikita ng mga kasama mo pala. So nung nagkaroon ng Blue Ribbon, I was shocked also like by the scale of the corruption. So baka naman sa sobrang dami nagbe-benefit, walang gusto mag-expose.
Sa Pilipino? Ang Pilipino, wala ka may tago dyan sa loob ng departamento. Yung chismis yan, ang lakas, ang bilis. Kaya nga si Duterte, no, si Presidente Duterte, yung whiff of corruption lang, tinatanggal niya kagad ng cabinet member. Eh. Kasi hindi mo mapipigilan yan. Eh. There will always be smoke coming out.
But in your column today, you also talked about yung pagiging brazen na about corruption, that the politicians were displaying their wealth as well.
Oh, flaunting.
Oh, flaunting. Tama yun yung ginamit mong
Strutting.
word. So pag ano, baka naman umabot na rin sa point na they think they can get away with it. Kaya yun, kahit sinasabi mo na kung sa mga departments, may chismis naman yan, lalabas. Ito nga parang open secret na eh. That's the term here in the Philippines because they're not even trying to hide
Kasi
it.
nga, that has become the way of life of politicians. They can get away with murder. Kaya, yan ang ginagawa nila ngayon.
Well, Attorney Sal, since meron ng awareness ngayon ng mga tao, and you were talking about yung people already wanting change, some groups are not calling for the resignation of President Bongbong Marcos because of a lack of alternative. Like you said, so ikaw na rin nagsabi dito, meron mga may ayaw kay Vice President Sara. Do you think meron bang
Referring to the
ibang
yellows.
option? Because some of the baggages that Vice President Sara may have would be the issue against her for the confidential funds, yung impeachment na hindi natuloy to trial. Is that an option? How do you think all of this affects Vice President Sara Duterte?
Di ba meron akong, I have a suggestion and unsolicited advice kay Presidente Marcos Jr. You have an escape valve. I said, if you are not complicit with this, kumbaga naisahan ka lang because of gross negligence, mapapatawad ka ng tao. Under the Constitution, he can exercise extraordinary powers. And I disagree with lawyers that if you declare a revolutionary government, that is not within the Constitution. The Constitution says the government's primary duty is to serve and to protect. When the government created by the people is a failure, and it is failing now, then you, as president, has to do something about it. You declare a revolutionary government, people are against Congress. Gusto nga nila, barilin na yung mga yan eh. Sabi nga ng mga ibang kongresista na kaos ko, hindi ko na masabing kongresista ako, natatakot na ako. So, abolish Congress when you declare revolutionary government. And then jail all of them. Sabi nila, pag ginail mo naman yan, walang due process. Hindi, the due process will come after. Kasi pag ngayon ka sasabihin mong bigyan ng due process, tatakas lang, nakatakas na nga eh. And then after that, after doing the two things, you bring back Duterte para ma-stabilize. Kasi hanggang nandun siya, hindi ka matatahimik. And then number 4, na you do massive radical reforms. Patatawarin ka ng tao. No,
So this would be all under President Bongbong Marcos,
Yes.
what you're
Kasi
describing.
kung ayaw mo pa na may succession, anyway, may 3 terms mo naman, do it. Pero pag hindi mo ginawa yan, if you declare revolutionary government just to get away from it and not doing the 4 things that I said, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yan. Tatanggal ka din.
In this whole issue, lagi rin lumalabas yung pangalan ni former Speaker Martin Romualdez as Speaker. So he was part of the BICAM and of course also being the cousin of the President. And Zaldico is implicating Speaker Martin as someone who also received kickbacks. But kung bumaliktad si Speaker Martin Romualdez, then he can also corroborate Zaldico, assuming Zaldico is telling the truth. Sa palagay mo ba, will Martin Romualdez stick with President Bongbong Marcos till the end?
Sa tingin ko, survival mode lahat yan. Magtuturuan lang yung mga yan. Pero, at the end of the day, they will all be jailed. Kasi, people are revolting now. Galit sila eh. Maniwala ka. Alam mo sa isang wake ng kapatid ko, dumating si Mayor Menchie Abalos. Mayor to na Mandaluyong ha. And she was telling us, Tito Sal, sabi niya, galit sa amin ng tao, kahit wala namang kinalaman dyan. Galit na galit sa amin, lahat kami. Galit sa gobyerno, kasama kami.
Just by being a politician.
Ganun kagalit. Alam mo, wherever you go, kahit saan ka pumunta sa party, ang pinag-uusapan nito, natigilan na, palitan na ang gobyerno. Parang lahat ganun eh.
Pero kung sakaling merong mga ebidensya na that will point to Speaker Martin Romualdez, pinatawag na rin siya sa ICI, pinatawag siya sa Blue Ribbon Committee, but he didn't appear there. Do you see a scenario where he might, if he is cornered, that he might also snitch on President Bongbong Marcos?
Kung gagawin niya, tapos na ang boxing, game over, lalong game over yan. Tilt.
Oo, but on a practical basis, meron bang possibility na mangyari yun? He'll turn on his own relative.
Bakit naman hindi? Survival mode nga eh. Di ba? Pag mamamatay ka na, manghihila ka na. Pag nasa bangin, hilahin mo na yung tumutulong sa'yo eh.
So, at this point in time, si Senator Amy Marcos naman, nauna siya magsabi earlier, last week, na merong mga lalabas na si Zaldico. So, that's why meron din mga nag-speculate na this is all part of a design. Senator Amy Marcos is the sibling of President Bongbong Marcos. Pero mukhang matagal nang lumipat sa kabilang side si Senator Amy.
Balat kayo yan. Hindi ako naniniwala niya. Intrigero masyado niya si Amy.
Pero siya wala ba siyang kinalaman dito?
Ang credibility ni Amy sa akin is zero.
Why? Why is that?
Marami akong karanasan sa kanya na hindi ka, like for instance, yung pinagpipilitan niya na love niya si Inday, love niya mga Duterte. She was not there when the president was arrested and Inday was there at Villamor Air Base na nangangailangan ng tulong kung dumating ba siya doon. Wala eh. Tumahimik sila lahat. Di ba? They were all quiet. Ngayon, biglang tumatakbo sila kung saan pumunta si Inday, nandun sila lahat. Kasi nakikita nila ang lakas ni Inday ngayon. Puro mga balat. Balat kayo pala ang buhay sa mundo.
So what can we expect in the 2 more days of rallies? Meron pa today, meron pa bukas. You were there last night, no? Marami talagang tao.
The next 3 days. But alam mo, ang problema naman kasi dito sa mga rally-rally ngayon, nung People Power 1 and 2, walang mga doon, walang mga yellow, walang ganito, walang Marcos. Lahat sila nagkaisa eh. Kaya, they were successful. Ang problema ngayon, iba yung sa 30, iba yung ngayon. Kailangan, you put yourselves together. Unite. Kasi isa lang naman ang sinasabi nyo. Kailangan nagkakaroon ng political bias kasi yung isa ayaw kinday. Saka na kayo mag-away. Di ba? After all, kung may regime change, magkakaroon ng election after a while.
You're not talking about a succession scenario. Pag mag-resign si PBBM under our Constitution, si
but I don't think
Vice
he
President,
will. I don't think he will.
So you're looking at other options kung kailangan ng change.
Kasi ganun lang ang mangyari. Itong 3-day rally ito, mag-accelerate ito. Lalaki ito ng lalaki. Plus yung November 30. Pag nag-combine yan, tapos na boxing. Game over.
Thank you so much, Attorney Sal Panelo. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.